But first, some breaking news from South Africa, where rescue workers are trying to free more than 200 miners trapped in a gold mine shaft. Now, they're stuck underground in an abandoned mine in Gauteng province, east of Johannesburg. Emergency services say they've made contact with at least 30 of the men who are trapped by boulders just below the surface. Now, the workers were thought to be mining illegally. Joining us on the phone now from Johannesburg is an emergency services spokesperson. That's Werner Vermaak. Now, Werner, could you just explain to us, how did this actually happen?
What we do know is that earlier this morning, ER24 Emergency Services, along with the Ekurhuleni Emergency Services, just east of Johannesburg, were called out to the scene when the local Metro Police heard the guys screaming for help. They were patrolling the area and heard from underneath rubble these guys' screams for help, and they alerted the local emergency services. Now, emergency guys that arrived on the scene found them. They could not visualize them. However, they could hear them and notified that there's 30 of them trapped in the first section. And those guys then informed that underneath them there's about further 200 that's also trapped, which we do not have any communication with. And there's very large boulders right on top of them. So we managed with the local rescue services to lift some of the top boulders at the moment. And we do expect, hopefully in the next hour or so, to start lifting out the first illegal miner.
All right. Now, Werner, you, as you say, are in contact with at least 30 of the miners who are in the first part of the shaft. Do you know what condition they're in? Are any of them injured?
At this stage, we do not know if they have sustained any physical injuries. What we do know is that based on what they've told us, that they sound dehydrated. So they'll definitely be treated for dehydration once they reach the surface by their local disaster emergency services. Once they are stabilized or stable enough, they'll be handed over through to the police for processing. From there on, we have set up staging areas where we will take up the rest of the miners, and as they come in with their injuries, start treating them. So basically, we're preparing for any type of injuries at the moment, as we do not know what injuries they have sustained.
Right. Now, Werner, as we understand it, these miners were illegally mining at this abandoned gold shaft. Is this a common occurrence when it comes to illegal mining?
It's definitely a common occurrence in South Africa, where mine shafts, abandoned mine shafts that's been closed for several years, properly closed. These guys go into open felts and they just break it open underneath rubble piles, and then start building their own communities underground. They possibly then try and access areas that's been closed down. These mines have been closed down because it's too dangerous to mine, and they just either try and join up with mines that's still currently in operation, maybe to access some of the gold or areas underneath Johannesburg in that area. However, areas that have been closed off, they still access it and live under there for sometimes up to weeks before they resurface again. Now, this is common that an area, and you also have rival groups that deliberately close up mines when they know other people are underneath the mines, as they could not access it.
All right, Werner, thank you so much for speaking to us. Werner Vermaak, their emergency services spokesman, they're speaking to us from Johannesburg.